Welcome to Fondly Famous. I'm your host, Kelly Northlee, and today I'm here at McNamara, and we are talking about insurance rates and inflation with Tyler and Kris. So one of the big things, like the elephant in the room, I guess we could say, is that insurance rates are up. Yeah. Can you guys talk a little bit on that?
Sure. Insurance rates are up for various reasons. The first reason is price changes. And for example, the used car market since 2020 is up the price of a used car is up about 45%. Car repairs are up 30%. Auto insurance rates, I believe this statistic to be low at 27%. I actually think it's more than that. And new car prices are up 22%. And this all has to do with inflation and just costs of everything.
Yeah, right, Kris. And then with these higher costs, as the claims roll in, whether it's a deer hit or a fender bender, the costs of the claims is rising dramatically. Mm-hmm. And what's happened is the premiums that are coming in, and for many carriers, are actually less than the claims that they're paying out, and that creates a lot of upward pressure on rates.
Yes, yeah. Okay. We've been seeing just a lot of that in the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, and it's we're going to talk a lot about the price increases and some of the statistics because you might find them interesting. But really, while frequency is up, so we are having claims and they are more severe, inflation is really the cost multiplier when it comes to these claims, as Kris outlined above. So with inflation and the increase in frequency and severity of the losses, all those things really create the perfect storm, no pun intended. And so we're seeing some pressure, and it's been tough from a consumer perspective for sure.
Right, and rolling right into storms, pun intended there. Rolling into storms. Natural disasters we've seen an increase or an uptick in those. What does that have on insurance?
Yeah, as everybody talks about, our weather in the United States is changing, and we can go into why or why not that's happening, but it's happening. And for example, natural disasters are also driving up insurance costs. So, for example, there's lots of hailstorms in non-hurricane states that are occurring now that haven't occurred in the past.
I think we had hail the other night during a storm, for sure.
Yeah. For example, in 2023, the United States had 141 large hail days, which means 141 days out of 365. Some state in the United States had hail of 2 inches or larger. So that's the highest in 2 decades. So it's just crazy. And like I said, insurance companies are just having to deal with the more frequency of these storms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the other thing that we can note here too is we are affected, by anything that happens in the United States in terms of storms. Mm-hmm. The closer these storms get to home, the more we're affected. Mm-hmm. And even though the upper Midwest is considered a little bit safer from an insurance company's perspective, we've in the upper Midwest, so Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, Iowa, we've seen an uptick in storms as well. And so again, frequency, so they're happening more often and they are more serious, meaning the winds are getting higher, the hail is getting larger, which is causing more damage. Mm-hmm. And so we're affected regardless of where the storm happens. The closer it gets to home, and the upper Midwest has also seen an increase in these types of storms, which is really putting a lot of pressure on our property rates.
Mm-hmm. Right, and the hail damage and the wind damage on all those things, and then that in combination with the rising costs of all of the wood and all of the repairs and all of the things to fix that, has just continued to skyrocket things.
Correct.
Yeah. Correct. So when we look at as consumers, when we look at our policies, we're looking at the auto, and then we look at the home, and it's kind of like a double whammy because we're seeing increases on both
Yeah.
auto and home, and that's been pretty tough to stomach for all of us.
Does having a garage, does that help with your insurance at all? I'm just thinking about when like storms come in and your car is inside or outside. Does that come into play at all?
It would, if your car is garaged,
Right.
the odds of you may have then just hail damage to your home and not your home and your auto.
Right.
So you may avoid partial claim or two, having one claim versus two. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, certainly. If there's just from a loss control standpoint as individuals, if you have a garage and you see on your phone or whatever the threat of severe weather and there might be some hail, I know I'm stating the obvious here, but it's always a good idea to try to pull those cars inside.
Put it in the garage.
Yeah, put it in the garage because that can, a lot of times your autos are even more susceptible to hail than your house.
Right.
So if you can avoid the hassle of a claim, that certainly would be something you want to do versus leaving it out there. And then all of a sudden it looks like somebody beat it with a hammer the next day. It's certainly a covered loss if you have full coverage on your car.
Right.
But it's the hassle of taking it in, getting estimates, and then getting that repair made. So, their garage can be helpful in many ways.
If you use it.
If you use it, yeah.
Oh my goodness. So you guys were saying the cost of repairing the autos has really increased as well with all the inflation.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible. Windshield repairs since 2018 are up about 48%.
I blame road construction for that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, if you get a chip in your windshield or a speck in your windshield, you really don't let it get larger and crack. Try and get it filled in. A lot of times insurance companies will waive your deductible if you can just get it filled in, and it's going to save you, it's going to save a large claim. Let's just put it that way. So, yeah, I think that's important to get on it right away,
Do you just call your insurance agent if you need it filled in, or where do you guys recommend to start?
Insurance or glass claims have to be reported by the insured to the company, but you can call us. We'll give you the number, and then you can just simply call them, and they'll get you all taken care of. So they're so frequent, that's why they have to be called in by the insured.
Right.
Yeah, and most of the insurance carriers have agreements with area glass services. So all the pricing and everything is always all figured out ahead of time, and it makes for a real smooth claim. And just to emphasize something that Kris said, if you can tackle that windshield when there's just a small divot or a small crack, a lot of times they can do a repair and the deductible's waived, and that's a relatively small claim on your insurance record, which also helps versus a whole replacement of the windshield.
Because with vehicles and the technology today, there's so many things that are even tied into your windshield that's just driven the cost of a windshield replacement up and up.
You talk about windshields, but even just deer hits. I mean, the carriers are saying that cost on the average deer hit is up roughly 40%, and a lot of it is the vehicles are just so advanced. Even if you look back 10 years to 20 years to 30 years compared to now. Let's face it, as consumers, we like the bells and whistles. We like the Bluetooth. We like the accident avoidance. We like the blind spot monitoring.
The backup cameras.
And all that.
I need that.
Backup cameras, that is a nice one.
Yeah.
It saved me a couple times
Yes.
for sure. And so all those things are great, and they do help the safety part of things. They reduce losses, right? But when you hit a deer, all that stuff needs to be repaired. And gone are the days when you can just go and get an old chrome bumper and put it on and call it a day. Now there's wiring, there's sensors, so they got to do all those repairs, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, now we got to re-image the computer in the car, and that really increases costs. So we're seeing for sure a higher frequency of vehicles totaled. Because they're so expensive to repair, and when they compare those numbers, they're just like, I know you just hit a deer and it didn't look so bad, but it's so expensive to make this repair. Here's a check and go buy a new car.
Right.
And a lot of that has to do with just the simple cost of the repairs. Not to mention, body shops are challenged too. Skilled labor and the skilled trades are are down a little bit, so they're having trouble with staff. And then we've had some parts shortages. Even though COVID is long gone, there are still shortage of parts. So it's been taking longer to make these repairs as well. So it's just a deer hit is no longer just a deer hit anymore when it comes to what it's going to cost to repair most modern vehicles.
Right. Goodness. Yeah, we had an issue to one of our vehicles at our house, last year or something. And it was like 4 months out to get in to get it repaired, and then the back order on the parts, and just because labor, people are.
I actually had a bumper replaced on my car due to a car wash incident. Not my fault, but happened in January, I believe, and I could not get it in until July. Wow. Now, granted, my vehicle was drivable, so I'm sure I got put on the low, at the bottom of the list, but. Yeah, I could not get my vehicle in until July.
And one of the things we can kind of just touch on here is just a little tip for our viewers that if you do have a vehicle that's in an accident and you need some body work or whatever, work with your body shop and talk to them about how long it's going to take. And if the vehicle is still drivable, you may not want to take it into the shop until all the parts are ordered and in. We're pretty lucky, at least in the area. We have some really good quality body shops with good people behind the counter, and they'll give you advice one way or the other. So do have that conversation with them, because that, again, can save you a lot of trouble.
Yep. So what does a customer do if they have something that happens either with their home, with their auto?
Well, first of all, we advise that they call their agent, discuss the claim with the agent. Insurance is getting to the point where it's not meant to have a bunch of small claims anymore.
Right.
So, we're advising people, for example, I had a customer that, knocked off his mirror. He had a lower yeah, I have too. He had a lower deductible, and then basically the company would pay out the same amount as the deductible that he had. And I said, to be honest, it's still going to be a claim against you. And now now insurance companies are looking at frequency of claims. So for that small amount, I would just write a check and get it repaired. So. But again, if you ever have a claim, talk to your insurance agent, because every situation is different. So.
Every situation's different. Everybody's budget's different. Your deductibles are going to be different on your policy. But if you have that conversation with your agent, they can give you some guidance and give you some good advice in terms of some things that you might want to think about. So that would be the first call that we would definitely suggest.
Okay. Resist the temptation to jump online and start getting your own.
Yeah, with everybody seeing these increased costs of insurance, there are so many people that call up and said, I went online and I can get it for this. Yeah, I can get the same coverage for this amount of money. We have several companies in our office and a rater, and we put the information in, and it's all the companies are giving us these similar rates. So if you're thinking you're saving hundreds of dollars on your policy, there's something that's missing, and we advise you to just give your agent a call, talk to them, and see what they can do for you.
Yeah, and the other part of that is when you go online and you're shopping online, and we've tested most of the online carriers, they really drive you towards price. Like, price is the only thing that matters, and as a result, some consumers end up reducing their coverage, not even realizing it, even though in the fine print it says what you're doing or what you're getting and not getting.
Right.
A lot of consumers just keep looking at the bottom line, and then when they see the price that they want, they buy that coverage. Unfortunately, they could be doing themselves quite a disservice if they aren't reading everything over very carefully. That's where your agent can come into play and help you understand what you're getting, what you're not getting, what might be important to you, what might not. And then basically when you have a claim, then you know what to expect, and you can have the peace of mind like, okay, I got a good policy here, versus like, well, I don't know, all I know is it wasn't very expensive.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that we would suggest, and I know Kris would agree with this because we've been doing a ton of continuing ed and learning quite a bit, even though we have a lot of experience even in our office. Insurance is getting more complicated. It is not getting less complicated, and the policies are only getting longer and larger. And it takes a lot of work to keep up with it, and we do. But we do so that we can help consumers, we can help our customers understand something really complicated. Because it's when you start reading the contract, it's not as simple as it looks when you're just shopping online.
Right. I had a client who owned a property, a rental, and they had thought that their fence was covered by their insurance, and it got taken out in a hurricane. And I don't know if you've ever priced out a fence, but it's several $1,000s. And that was a couple years ago, and they couldn't afford to replace the fence. But they had thought that they had it in their coverage, and they did not. And I know that they went down off of price. It was a specific company that may or may not have an issue with that, but one of those things that you just go in, you're checking out, and you don't realize that one thing came off. Or, you know, things get removed as you lower the price.
That's correct. Yes.
But,
Yeah, and then we always I hate to hear of those things because we know that like in your example, obviously the person had good intentions. They were buying the coverage. They're trying to, we would argue that if that person talked to an agent, the chances are very high that they probably would have asked a question. Well, do you have anything? Do you have a fence? Do you have any detached structures? Do you have anything else that we need to account for? Do you own, rent, or occupy any other property? Those questions are not just to be a pain and whatnot. They're so that we can source the proper coverage, and maybe that person would have had a better experience and would not have had that situation. But yeah, using an agent is very, very important, especially in this market.
in all industries.
In all industries,
Yes.
whether it's real estate or whatever
Yes.
it might be.
Get an agent.
Social media, for example, and that's and that is, it's kind of like, Kris and I we've had various experiences and kind of grew up in manufacturing, and we've worked service jobs. We've had a lot of different types of jobs before we got into the insurance part of things. And I think one of the things we've learned along the way, and you can disagree if you would like, you don't have to agree with me, but when you get into something that's different, that you're not used to or maybe not educated on, because we just don't have that experience, call somebody who can help you. That can save you so much trouble. And it's not that you can't do some things on your own, but I think having that just that background of, okay, I kind of know what's going on, but I'm not sure. Let's give someone that's in the business a call, and the help you get is really a huge value add. And with most of the service industries that we're in, there's not a charge for that first consultation of, hey, can you help me out, right? So seeking out those individuals with expertise. And I know I'm biased, okay? But seeking out those individuals with expertise is great. In other words, if you don't know electrical work, probably shouldn't be wiring your house. Call an electrician. You'll probably end up with a better result.
It's like during COVID and everyone was cutting their own hair. Some people should cut hair, some people should not.
Exactly.
So call a professional.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I definitely would not be a good barber or a cosmetologist for sure. You wouldn't want me cutting it.
Right. Stay in our lanes.
Yes.
Stay in your lane, right? Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you guys so much for talking about this.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. And if any of our viewers have any questions, whether you're a client of ours or not, feel free to give us a call. And if nothing else, maybe we can give you some tips and some guidance and maybe help you answer a question that you have a little bit more thoroughly so you can make the decisions that are best for you. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.